Okay, imagine picking up your entire life, leaving everything you know behind, and moving thousands of miles away to immerse yourself completely in a culture you've literally never experienced for almost 40 years. Well, welcome to this explainer where we are unpacking the absolutely incredible true story of Mary Slessor, the fearless missionary of Nigeria. We are looking at a woman who stepped right into the total unknown and left a footprint that permanently changed history.
So, right off the bat, you kind of got to ask yourself, how does a poor Scottish mill worker end up becoming known as the mother of all the people in Nigeria? I mean, it sounds like the plot of some sweeping Hollywood epic, right? But no, this is entirely real. We're looking at this massive, almost impossible contrast between her incredibly humble, really tough beginnings in Scotland and the monumental legacy she eventually built in West Africa.
To figure out how she got there, let's rewind a bit to 1848, Aberdeen, Scotland. Mary was born into deep, grinding poverty. By the 1850s, while she's literally still just a kid, she's already working these grueling, endlessly long hours in a textile mill. And she had to, especially since her father really struggled with alcoholism. But despite all that back-breaking labor, Mary found a lifeline. She developed a profound love for reading the Bible, and she was just entirely captivated by the stories of David Livingstone's work in Africa. That little spark of inspiration in a loud, dark mill, that's exactly what set the whole thing in motion. Okay, let's dive into this. Fast forward to 1876. After years of local church ministry and prep work, Mary finally answers the call. She's 27 years old, she applies to the United Presbyterian Church of Scotland, boards a ship, and sails all the way to West Africa, eventually landing in the region of Calabar. She finally made it. But the reality on the ground? It was intensely challenging. You see, the dangers of Calabar back then were very, very real. We are talking about a fiercely harsh, unforgiving climate. Endemic diseases like malaria were just everywhere and highly lethal. Communication with the outside world? Basically non-existent. Actually, Calabar was widely feared by Europeans at the time for those exact reasons. So taking this mission wasn't just a simple career change. It was a fearless leap into the total unknown. She was putting her own life on the line every single day. And this is where we see what made Mary so utterly unique. Your typical Victorian missionaries of the era, they usually stayed tucked away in comfortable, isolated mission compounds, safely near the coastal settlements. Not Mary. She completely broke the mold. She chose to live simply, right there among the people. She actively learned the local languages, she embraced their daily customs, and this wasn't just survival. This was a brilliant, revolutionary way to lead. By genuinely integrating herself, she bypassed all that surface-level stuff and built an absolutely unshakable foundation of trust. Because she was so deeply embedded in the community, she didn't just casually observe the culture from a safe distance. She encountered its harshest realities face to face. And that brings us to the real emotional anchor of this explainer, the trials of rescuing the twins. This was a defining, life-altering chapter where her deep compassion collided with a truly heartbreaking historical reality. To understand the gravity of what she faced, we have to look at the historical context of the area. In several local communities at that time, there was a deeply rooted superstition that newborn twins were actually a sign of evil spirits. And tragically, because of this belief, these newborn babies were frequently abandoned in the forest. Mary, driven by her faith and just this profound sense of empathy, decided she simply could not stand on the sidelines. She stepped up and actively opposed the practice. And what makes her intervention so remarkable is the sheer, staggering scale of it. We're not talking about one or two rescues here. She personally saved hundreds of abandoned twins. Hundreds. She didn't just pick them up and hand them off either. She physically sheltered them in her own home, cared for them day and night, and fiercely protected both the children and their mothers. It was a tireless, everyday mission of love. It's really no surprise that this relentless advocacy for the most vulnerable members of society earned her a pretty legendary title. The locals affectionately started calling her the mother of all the people. By this point, she wasn't just some foreign missionary anymore. She was family. She proved her dedication through real, tangible action, which actively shifted attitudes towards twins and ultimately sparked the decline of that tragic custom altogether.
But Mary, she wasn't done yet, not even close. She had established herself in Calabar shore, but she felt this profound calling to push even further. She started journeying deep into the interior of Nigeria. I mean, way off the map, into the unknown. This was an area where very few Europeans had ever even set foot. And the deeper she went, the more unpredictable and physically grueling the environment became.
People would ask her about the sheer danger of what she was doing, and she had this absolutely incredible response. She said, "Why should I fear? I am on a royal mission." Isn't that just powerful? It so beautifully captures her absolute fearlessness. She had complete, unwavering trust that God would provide. For Mary, moments of extreme danger weren't red flags. They were just part of the job description when you're on a mission of this magnitude. And forging those new paths was grueling work. She's traveling deep inland, navigating these winding rivers by canoe, or just trekking on foot for miles and miles through really intimidating, dense forests to reach these ultra-remote villages. And she wasn't just passing through like a tourist. She sat down, drank tea, and built direct, face-to-face relationships with tribal leaders. She was literally mapping new relational and geographical territory all at once, showing a level of respect to local leaders that was incredibly rare for outsiders back then. Thanks to those relationships, she evolved into something you almost never saw, a deeply respected peacemaker. Her wisdom, her genuine understanding of the local culture, and her strict sense of fairness, they became legendary. Local leaders would actually invite her in to settle their disputes. In fact, get this, she was so trusted that even the British colonial authorities would occasionally consult her to help mediate conflicts and give them guidance. A real game changer.
Now, let's be clear, none of this came easy. It was a life of immense sacrifice. She suffered from severe, recurring bouts of malaria that would have easily sent anyone else packing. She had to constantly navigate incredibly complex cultural misunderstandings. Oh, and she was dealing with severe, chronic physical exhaustion basically the whole time. Yet she flat out refused to permanently leave her mission field. That unwavering compassion of hers, it simply wouldn't let her quit. So, after nearly 40 years of continuous service, we can finally see the true magnitude of her legacy. Mary Slessor left this massive, indelible footprint, not just on the nation of Nigeria, but on Christian history as a whole. She transformed from a poor, overlooked mill worker into a powerful, historic advocate for justice, peace, and basic human dignity. Her final days are really something. On January 13, 1915, Mary Slessor passed away at the age of 66 in Use Ikot-Oku. By late January, the mourning was extensive. And not just locally, we're talking across 2 entire continents, in both Nigeria and Britain. Early in 1915, she was honored with a very rare state-level funeral, attended by top government officials and local leaders alike. Just think about that contrast for a second. From the noisy, impoverished textile mills of Scotland to a massive state funeral in Africa, honored as a true hero. And her impact certainly didn't just end in 1915. If you travel through Nigeria today, you are still going to find local schools, regional churches, medical hospitals, and all sorts of institutions proudly bearing her name. She remains one of the greatest, most deeply respected female missionary figures in history. It just goes to show that one person's unyielding dedication can literally reshape a nation's future. Which kind of leaves us with a final thought to ponder here. How can Mary's blend of fearless action and deep compassion inspire our own lives today? Now, sure, we might not be hacking our way through dense forests or settling historical tribal disputes, but we all face our own unknown territories, right? Her story really challenges us to ask, where can we step up? Where can we show profound empathy and act with real courage in our own world? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking questions, keep learning, and I'll see you next time.